to totally relax. But you relax without falling asleep. That's the key. You maintain alertness and maintain awareness. Okay. You just have to totally relax. We tend, most of us, if not all of us, tend to be hyper vigilant. We do too much. We're too active, always doing. Most of us, maybe not all. And we have trouble really fully relaxing. This requires full relaxation. But it's unlike sleep relaxation, where we allow the mind to get dull and duller and duller, and then we fall asleep. This is not that. This is where the mind stays alert, clear. Okay? So you've probably heard me talk about balancing alertness and clarity. So that's what we're doing. We're just allowing for the mind to be relaxed. We're maintaining alertness and clarity and doing nothing. Okay? For some of you, this may come a bit easy. For many of you, it will be like, I can't do it. It's okay. You got to practice. You got to just keep doing it. And if you're really committed, if you have an underlying kind of conviction that this is good stuff, this is wholesome, this brings happiness to yourself and others, will bring the heart to more love and compassion, then you'll stick to it. If you don't, and you think, well, I'm just testing this, trying that, I'm being eclectic, it's your choice. But if you have some conviction that this might be, in fact, worthwhile to a happier life, then you'll stick with it and you'll do it. And you'll get the benefits from it. Good. So let's meditate. I think we'll do it for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll kind of check to see, kind of feel the airwaves, see how people are doing. Okay. I'd like you to sit up straight with your spine straight and your head straight like mine. Okay. And I'd like you to keep your eyes open, but the eyes will be glancing down like this. See, I'm not putting my head down. Head is straight. The eyes are glancing down like this. Lips are closed, mouth is closed, but not tight. I'm not like this. Just loosely, gently putting the lips together. Okay, good. And I'm allowing my breath to go normally. I'm not changing it in any way. I'm not altering it. I'm not taking a deep breath or a slow breath or, I'm just allowing the breath to go natural. Okay? That's what I'd like you to do. Now, it's optional, but if you like, you can put your hands like this. So the left hand is down with the palm up, the right hand with the palm on top, and then the thumbs are making a triangle, and you relax that in your lap and relax your shoulders. Sometimes if you have armchairs, it's a little hard to do that unless you're a tinier person. But if you're a little bigger and you have an armchair gets in the way, the arms get in the way, and they usually don't allow you. Like right now, my arms are on the arm of the chair. You see my shoulders are up a little bit. If I bring them in and try to drop it, which is a little uncomfortable, but probably better for me, I drop my shoulders, putting my hands in this mudra into my lap, and drop your shoulders. So dropping the shoulders helps us maintain relaxation and the straight spine, alertness. Okay, so always balancing alertness and relaxation. Good. Earlier I said balancing alertness and clarity. Actually, it's balancing alertness and relaxation. Good. And that's what we do with this posture. Good. So now what I'd like you to do is nothing. I want you just to totally relax, stay alert, try not to fall asleep, okay? Stay alert. And we're just going to meditate. If your mind wanders or you start going off to a thought or this or that, you don't need to do that. Okay. Try to stay nice and okay. So let's meditate 5 or 10 minutes. I'll be the timekeeper. I'm looking at my watch. Good. So please meditate. I want you not to do anything. Just totally relax, maintain alertness. Normal breathing. Try not to stick on whatever your eyes are looking at. So you might be looking at your keyboard if you've got a laptop, or you've got a pad, or you might be looking at the desk or something in front of you. Try not to stare at it. So we call that a soft gaze.
Sorry, I'm going out to eat a strawberry cake. Sorry, dear.
Just allow the mind to settle. Allow the mind and the body to relax. Try not to get stuck in your senses, what you're seeing, or maybe hearing or feeling, contact, tactile. Try just to let it come and let it go. Try not to stick to anything. If a thought comes, just let it go. Don't need to stick to it. Don't need to follow it. Come back to the present moment. Remember the metaphor of the dirty glass of water, where you don't do anything to make it clear. You just leave it alone. Settle naturally. Just sit quietly, stay alert. Try not to follow any thoughts, sounds, whatever you see. Just let them go. Please stop your meditation. I think we went about 9 minutes. So I hope you were able to relax at least a little bit, to have a taste of the mind when it's not doing anything, when it's just being aware, when it's just in that experiencing mode or knowing mode without knowing anything or experiencing anything or being aware of anything, but just totally relaxed, that deeper state of mind. This is something you can do anytime you like. Do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Please don't overtax yourself. If you go too long and tire yourself out, you're less likely to return to meditation. So you don't want to go too long and get yourself too tired out. Good. So let's now turn to slides. Good. So that was meditation. And I hope you were able to get at least some taste. And if not, keep doing it. You will. A sense of things being clear, a sense of just being aware, rather than aware of something. These are the deeper, more fundamental or, essential qualities of the mind. Now, I'd like to shift to social media and examine this question, how words can be used on social media to predict behavior, not only behavior, but also disease. So this is very interesting stuff about how powerful words are, and therefore how powerful the mind is, because words come from the mind, with the notion then underlying this, that if that is the case, and let's look and see, but if that is the case, that words that are used on social media or other places can also influence in a great way behavior, even disease, we have to be careful with what we say. So let's have a closer look. So this is some research that was done at the University of Pennsylvania, and it's looking at language that's used on social media, and it's analyzing it from the perspective of heart disease, okay, and death from heart disease. So let's see how this works. So here we have two parallel approaches. One is looking at words that people use in their tweets on Twitter, okay? And the second approach is looking at data from the CDC, and these are basically death certificates looking at cause of disease, and see if there's any correlation between the words we use when we tweet and deaths from heart disease determined by the CDC or determined by death certificates. Let's have a closer look. So we can count from both of these perspectives. We can count words in certain categories that people use in their tweets. We can also count heart disease based on death certificate data, particularly people that died from heart attack or heart disease. And we can then correlate word usage on Twitter with actual disease, in this case, heart disease, and death from heart disease. So it seems like a wild thing to do, but in fact, this is what the group at the University of Pennsylvania did, and they found some very interesting findings. So they looked at accuracy of prediction, and this was published in Psych Science in 2015. So they looked at accuracy of predicting heart disease, and they did it from death certificate data that gave heart disease, if not the cause, at least associated with the death, written on the death certificate. And then they also looked at words used in Twitter. And, of course, words that were more inflammatory, more angry, more violent. And they looked to see if there was any correlation between the two. And then they mapped this to geography. So here you see the United States, the northeast section of the United States. There you see near the bottom, you see the states of West Virginia, of Pennsylvania, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, then coming east, New York, and then further east you have Vermont and New Hampshire, and above that Maine, and Connecticut, and just below you have Connecticut and Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So I remembered something from my high school geography. And the colors, we have deaths. So we're looking at now from death certificate having heart disease listed.
Oh gosh.
And so we have more deaths from heart disease listed on data from the CDC from birth certificates. That's on the left.
Oh,
On the
Buddha.
right, we look at the words, the inflammatory words that were used on Twitter that predicted or potentially could predict heart
Have heart
disease rates.
disease.
And so there you have, I think it's
Well, I
county
have
or
heart
some
disease.
kind of small section of the state, maybe county by county, you have more deaths or less deaths in each of those counties. And so if you look at how these match up, if you just look at that, it looks pretty similar just to the eyeball. So let's look at the data. So this is the accuracy of predicting heart disease. Let's look at the bottom. So if we look at ethnicity, it had very little correlation for predicting heart disease. If we looked at if you're Hispanic, if we looked at you're married, it had a slightly increased. So I guess there's some discord in marriages. Then if we looked at a gender, if you're female, a little more, but not much. If you look a little more at being Afro-American, being Black, a little more, but not much. Then if you get into the physical stuff, like so-called risk factors for heart disease, obesity, you had a little more predictive value for heart disease, but still not that much. If you had high blood pressure, hypertension, you get about the same as obesity. It's a little more predictability for heart disease, but still not that much. If you looked at diabetes, a little bit more, not that much. If you looked at smoking, okay, a little more predictability, still not that much. Even more than smoking, diabetes, hypertension, obesity is income and education. Okay, so this relates to what we call the social determinants of health, which are the bigger pictures, neighborhoods where you live, your education, your income, your access to health care, all these things influence your health. And here it is, prediction for heart disease is greater depending on your income and education than all the standard measures, risk factors for heart disease, smoking, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Very interesting. Social determinants of health are powerful. And then we looked at all the predictors, so all the ones below, except words used on Twitter, except Twitter data. And we have a greater predictability when we add all the lower ones together, being Hispanic, being married, being female, Black, obese, have hypertension, high blood pressure, have diabetes or smoking, and income and education data. So if you add all that together, you get much more predictability. But if you look at just Twitter, just the inflammatory words that people use on Twitter, it's actually more highly predictable than all the other standard measures of getting heart disease or dying from heart disease. So that's quite amazing, the power of language, the power of our concepts in terms of determining our physical health, of course, our mental health, but also our physical health in terms of heart disease and death from heart disease. So be careful how you are talking to yourself, because you are listening. Your body is listening. Your mind is listening. Your emotions are listening. So we have to be careful on the, how we think, what words we say to ourselves, because these have strong influences, both positive and negative. We just looked at the negative influences, but if our words, if our thoughts, our inner words, our thoughts are about compassion, caring for others, about generosity, about the Buddhist wisdom of emptiness, about kind of an ethical way to live and guide our life, based on non-harm, about being patient or tolerant rather than getting angry, about, that would all right away help in terms of reducing heart disease and deaths from heart disease based on the data we just looked at. And being, more, persistent when we're doing good stuff, not giving up, training our minds to be more focused and concentrated or mindful through meditation, and then through the wisdom, which I mentioned. All these would have positive effects, most likely, on our mind and our bodies. In fact, there's a lot of research, and I'll show some, and we've given some in our previous talks when we looked at neuroscience and Buddhism, that some of these positive mental states have positive influences on our physical and our mental health. So mindfulness is observing our inner life of thoughts and feelings in the present moment and applying antidotes to the negative thoughts and feelings. Okay, that's mindfulness that I call mindfulness with a capital M. It's observing in the present moment our inner life, our thoughts, our feelings, and then when we can, apply the antidote or a method to transform this negativity into its positive opposite. Okay? So that's being a little bit simplistic. If we got more technical from a Buddhist perspective, we would say that's both mindfulness and introspection. The introspection piece is applying the antidote. Okay? So I've kind of combined those both into the term mindfulness. Good. And that's mindfulness with a capital M. We'll learn a little later, maybe the next slide, that mindfulness with a small m is focusing our mind, concentrating our mind. That's shamatha, or focused or calm abiding meditation. So now we have, again, we've seen this before, but I'd like to go into this with a little more detail with you. The negativities and their positive opposites, their so-called antidotes. And this whole field we call emotional hygiene, how to transform negativity, how to recognize and transform negativity into their positive opposites. Good. So here we have anger, and its antidote would be patience or compassion or tolerance. And we have jealousy, its opposite or its antidote would be appreciation. Arrogance, its opposite or antidote would be humility. Selfishness, or its opposite or its antidote would be compassion. And miserliness, its opposite and its antidote would be giving. So the antidote here means transforming this negativity into its opposite, its positive opposite. Good. So I'd like to look at anger with you and how we can transform it into patience or tolerance or compassion. And then we'll do the same for jealousy and briefly for arrogance. So I've mentioned this is all the field of what we call emotional hygiene. So anger, you've seen this slide before, tearing your hair out or wishing you could, or wanting to tear your hair out and scream, or sometimes actually screaming, okay? When we're in this state, there's not much we can do. We have to sort of ride it out because we're being totally overwhelmed by this emotion of anger. So we can tell ourselves, next time I will try to work with the anger when it's at its early stage, because that's when we can work with it. Once it's full blown, not much we can do, okay? So the key to working with anger and transforming anger is early recognition. I can't say that enough times because we tend to forget it, We need to recognize early signs of anger in order to work with it, in order to transform it into its positive opposite. So what are the early signs of anger? Okay. I think you know. Take a moment and just take stock, reflect, think. What are your early signs of anger? What happens to you physically, mentally, before you become fully angry. So some of the common ones, you may not have all of these, you probably have some. Frustration, you're feeling frustrated. Yeah? So you can more easily kind of, just kind of boom, explode. Or you may be feeling irritable. And when you're irritable, you're again easily, set off to become, angry. Maybe sleep deprivation. You can become angry much easier. So when you're sleep deprived, you have to be very careful and watch out that you don't become angry. There's some physical stuff too. You may be jittery or even feel shaky inside. You may feel tension. This is a common one. It may be in your neck, in your jaw or scalp muscles, or anywhere in your body, feeling tension. You may feel that your heart's beating a little faster, going boom, 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 for no other reason. Or you're breathing a little fast for no other reason, You may even feel that you're getting flushed, a little red in the face, or even a little sweaty sometimes for no other reason. Okay? So these are some of the early signs of anger. So pay attention, be mindful of what's going on inside. And when you notice, I feel a little jittery, I feel some tension that wasn't there just before. I feel my heart maybe going boom, boom, boom. Or I'm breathing a little faster, I feel a little flushed. I feel kind of irritable, it's not a good day for me. Tell yourself, I may be getting angry. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But tell yourself, I may be getting angry. And then go to a method, apply it. It doesn't take long. Because if that is pre-anger, you can cut it off at the pass. You can transform it into its positive opposite. So what are some of the methods that we can use to transform anger into patience, tolerance, or compassion? One method, or two methods, are involving imagination. And you've heard me talk about this before, so it may be some repetition for you. You may have forgotten it, so it may be, renewed, relearning stuff that you've forgotten. Or if you've remembered it, it may allow you to go a little bit deeper with it and actually bring it, actualize it to experience, actually do it. So the first imagination is all this pre-anger stuff. You imagine that it transforms into a cloud. And the cloud is in the sky way over there, and it drifts. This imagination, it drifts, that cloud drifts across the sky and completely dissolves, along with your pre-anger. Now, this is guaranteed not to work the first time. Let me say that. Because we're so habituated to anger, getting angry, since we were a kid. So those deep-seated habits, we're not going to return in one day. It's going to take repeated effort. But if we do this, if we apply this method again and again, we will see over time, slowly, that our anger becomes less intense, and maybe the duration between anger to anger lengthens, so we're not getting angry as often. A second method is similar to the first in that it involves imagination, but the imagination is different. This time, we imagine our pre-anger stuff is like a crystal ball. We hold it in our hand and we let it go. We drop it on a stone or cement floor, a really hard floor. And the crystal ball shatters into hundreds, if not thousands of pieces. So that crystal ball, which we imagine to be our pre-anger stuff, completely breaks apart. It's gone. Again, it takes time for this to work. You have to apply this method again and again. And you can change the methods, no problem. The real point is to try to recognize anger early and try to apply some kind of a method to, transform it or move it to its opposite, positive opposite. So a third method I kind of call understanding. Goes like this. So when I recognize, oh, I may be angry, or I may be getting angry, I recognize the pre-anger, stuff of being irritable and the tension and the shakiness inside, that stuff. Oh, I may be getting angry. And then I apply this method of understanding. Right away, I think, because usually when we get angry, it's with somebody else. Might be myself, but this works best when it's with somebody else. I say to myself, the other person is not happy. To myself, I say that. Why? Because when I get angry with somebody, it's not like the blame lies fully on their shoulders. I somehow participated also. It takes two to tango. Tango is a dance, by the way, in the 1930s or 40s or something, the tango. So it takes two to tango. It takes two to get angry. So I'm, in some ways, I participate. Okay. So I say the other person is not angry. The other person is not happy. Okay. Why do I say that? Well, when someone provokes me, and in this case, I perceive them. They may not perceive it this way, but I'm perceiving them. They're provoking me to get angry. They're doing something I don't like, gets me angry. People that provoke are not happy. I know that. Because happy people don't provoke. Okay? So I know right away the other person's not happy. Then I say to myself, if she or he is not happy, I think, why are they not happy? Almost always I don't know. Okay? Even if I know the person, I don't know what's going on with them the last few minutes, most likely. Okay? So then I just take a guess. And what are the most common situations that, bring people to anger? What are the common situations that bring us to anger? Well, commonly it's relationship difficulties or misunderstandings. I didn't mean to say that, or did she really mean that? Misunderstanding communication, or miscommunication in relationship. What else? Well, health issues. I've got this headache, and I've had this headache the last couple of days, and oh no, it could be something bad. Do you think I could have like cancer, brain cancer? So maybe that person just had that thought because they've been having a headache for the last few days, or something else that gave them a scare, a medical scare, a health scare, right? And they were ready to be set off, or they were unhappy, so they could provoke my anger. Or thirdly, financial issues. Maybe they wanted to buy something new they've been saving up, and then they checked their bank account and realized they had nothing like they thought they did, and they couldn't buy whatever there was they wanted to buy. Or they have some job insecurity. They laid off this person, they laid off that person. Am I next? Particularly during this pandemic. Okay. So job insecurity, so financial insecurity, financial worries then can make the other person unhappy, and it can lead, or not saying that it makes it right, but it's just trying to understand where they're coming from, make them more in a provocative mood to provoke my anger. Okay. So I just think those in that way, and it often takes less than a minute, maybe even less than 30 seconds. I go through that. And when I do that, what happens to that early anger? That early anger has nowhere to go. So it kind of dies on the vine. It sort of just becomes less potent, powerful. Notice we're not suppressing that early anger because that doesn't work, because when we do that, the stuff isn't gotten rid of. It's still there. So we're not suppressing it. We're just trying to detour it, transform it into its positive opposite. Now, again, this approach won't work the first time because of our long habituation with anger. But if we're persistent and try these methods again and again, we'll get mileage out of them. They'll start to work. So let's look at jealousy. I love this slide. You know, we sometimes say a picture is better than 1,000 words. And I think this is one of those situations, one of those pictures. There was an old series on television, I think in the American television, I think in the 1940s and 1950s, called Our Gang Comedy. And I'm pretty sure this photo comes from Our Gang Comedy. And it's a bunch of little kids. And they just play, and they're sometimes a little bit, they get a little bit wild, and but it's on TV, and it was a very popular show, I'm told. I think I saw it when I was young, some of the reruns. So this is from Our Gang Comedy. It's a beautiful picture of jealousy, on kids. One little girl is not happy with the other little girl kissing the little boy, right? So jealousy is a different kind of negative emotion than anger. It also can be towards aggression, and you can see aggression in the second girl's face. You can see some kind of strength, aggression. Could turn to violence, and not in this case, I think, but could turn to violence, jealousy. Sometimes it does. People even kill, a boyfriend or someone that, a girlfriend or a boyfriend that was, not loyal in the relationship. They get jealous, and sometimes they can get so angry they can even kill the person. That happens sometimes. Okay, so it can be very violent. It can be violent. It often is aggressive, jealousy. So jealousy is different from anger in that we often don't notice it. Okay, it's hard not to notice your anger, but jealousy, you often don't notice it, but it has a major effect on your, well-being or lack of it, of destroying or eroding your well-being. And you can see right here, this little girl that's being jealous, she's not happy. Whereas you look at the other two kids, they're very happy, right? So you can see that jealousy takes a toll on us. We don't usually recognize when we're jealous. It's kind of under the radar. So the key to working with jealousy is recognition. So with anger, it was early recognition. With jealousy, it's recognition. So how do we recognize when we're jealous? Well, it's using that mindfulness with a capital M, in the present moment, looking inward to our inner life.
I have to smile next to that.
And when we notice that we're jealous, then applying an antidote to transform or turn or that jealousy into its opposite, its positive opposite. What is the positive opposite of jealousy? It's appreciation. Okay, appreciation. Okay. So let me give you a story that illustrates this, how to transform jealousy into its positive opposite of appreciation. Someone is in their condo and hears the engine of a beautiful sports car kind of pull up outside and stop. And their mind starts thinking, wow, this sounds like some kind of a special sports car. Let's see what it is. They open the curtains and they look. And they see this yellow convertible Lotus sitting in front of their condo.
This is a photo.
And they immediately think,
Yeah.
This must be that woman who lives next door. She doesn't deserve it. I'm the one who deserves a yellow convertible Lotus. I've been saving up for it for years. I'm an expert driver. She doesn't know how to drive. She doesn't have the money. How did she get this? She doesn't deserve it. And slams the curtain shut. They go and make dinner, lose their appetite, go to bed,
I see.
and wake up after a few hours with indigestion. That's jealousy. Now, scenario number 2. Person on the condo on the other side of the neighbor who just bought this beautiful sports car opens his curtain. He sees out there in the front of this beautiful yellow convertible Lotus and immediately thinks, my neighbor, she finally bought it. Oh, it's so beautiful. She
Damn.
must be ecstatic to have this incredible new sports car and a Lotus to boot, being yellow color, canary yellow, and top down convertible. I'm going to go congratulate her. Wow, beautiful sports car you bought. You must be so happy. I'm so happy for you. This is incredible. Now I'm so pleased to have such an incredible neighbor. And I can see this sports car time to time because we're in the same condominium complex. So she says to the neighbor, yeah, I am so happy. I've been waiting for so long, saving up to get this, and also taking some lessons, sports car lessons, so I can drive it properly. And I was just going to take it out for a spin. Would you like to join? And the man is beside himself with so much excitement, he can hardly get the words out. Yes, the word out. Yes, I would love to join. So they go and take this thing out for a spin down, the main avenue in town with the top down, going slowly so everybody can see. And then she pulls it over to the side and she says, would you like to drive it? And this time he's so excited, but he can't even get the words out. Yes, she understands fully. And then he drives this, convertible with the top down, canary yellow Lotus down the main boulevard in town so everybody can see. And he's ecstatic. And then they go back to their condos respectively. He goes, makes himself dinner, enjoys his dinner thoroughly, goes to sleep and sleeps like a baby.
A great amount of people. Great amount of couple kiss me.
Excuse me. And sleeps like a baby. That's appreciation. How did he do it? Well, when he first saw that sports car, the initial feeling was going to be jealous, and then he recognized, I don't want to be here.
There will be a great amount of
I want to be happy. I want to practice appreciation. And that recognition is enough often to flip jealousy into appreciation. And so he then was able to practice appreciation. He knew that he would be much happier and healthier practicing appreciation. And so that's what he decided to do, and that's what he did. So we have a choice. We always have a choice. But we only have that choice if we recognize our jealousy. So again, recognition is the key. And we do that through mindfulness. So through occasionally looking in, just take a moment, look in, what am I thinking, what am I feeling? So right now, be mindful, be in the present moment, and just look inside. What am I thinking, what am I feeling? Go ahead. What are my sensations in my body?
This is the last piece.
Good. So that's jealousy and its antidote, appreciation, and how through mindfulness and recognition we can transform the jealousy into appreciation.
Appreciation.
Arrogance. Could be a woman, doesn't have to be Caucasian, could be anyone who's a human, looking in the mirror and saying, wow, are you handsome? You are good. I am good. I am smart. Ooh. And am I handsome? Ooh. Nobody can beat me in that category. I am the most handsome person on the earth. Yeah? Arrogance, feeling you're better or best than others. It's a trap, it's a prison, because when we fall into arrogance and we stay there, we can't get out because we won't listen to anybody else. Our friends may say, hey, you're kind of going off on a deep end here, thinking you're better, you know it all compared to your friends. That's not so good for our relationship. You lose your friends. Okay. You don't read, you don't listen to others, because you feel you know everything. So you're stuck. It's like a prison. So if you find yourself getting into arrogance, try hard to remember humility and the deficits, the problems that come with being arrogant, and get yourself out of it. Flip into humility. Now, some people think that humility is weakness, that if I'm practicing humility, that I'm impotent, I have no power. It's totally the opposite. Being humble takes incredible courage. It requires incredible strength, and it's incredibly powerful. Look at some of the great people that have been humble. Martin Luther King, uh, Mahatma Gandhi, the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela. People that were humble and powerful at the same time. They were able to really practice compassion, and that brought their power and their strength and their ability to affect major change. Arrogance is a camouflage. It hides our insecurity. So often when we practice or when we go towards arrogance, it's actually weakness, insecurity. So just from that perspective, you can see that it's opposite. Humility is security, is courage, is strength. When choosing a leader, so this is one nation of Native Americans called the Lakota tribe or nation, Lakota. So when choosing a leader, we always kept in mind that humility provides clarity, whereas arrogance makes a cloud. The last thing we wanted was to be led by someone whose judgment and actions were clouded by arrogance. This is a saying, a way of life from the Native Americans, the Lakota nation. Very powerful. Now, let me say a few words about monkey mind. So we're talking about emotional hygiene, recognizing and transforming our negative actions into positive opposites, those antidotes to do that. Monkey mind is, taking the analogy of a monkey jumping here and there, often not staying still. Little birds do the same thing. They just, their heads are going this way, that way. They fly, they land, they fly, they land. That kind of a mind that's distracted and is constantly moving from this to that, this to that. Monkey mind. So monkey mind is its antidote is a mind that's calm, that's focused, that's concentrated, mindful. Okay. Now, how do we do that? We practice mindfulness more with a small m. So this is meditation, shamatha, or single-pointed meditation. For example, on the breath, we just concentrate focus our attention right here, where the nose and the lip join. Okay. And just keep your attention there, sitting quietly on a cushion or in a chair with your back straight, usually with your eyes open, glancing down like we did before, with your mouth closed, breathing normally, and you just place your attention right there. When you get distracted, just bring it back to here. keep doing that and do that 5 or 10 minutes every day, every morning. And slowly with time, your mind will become less distracted, less monkey mind, and you'll have more focus, more concentration. Good. Self-doubt and suspicion. The more we practice compassion, the more we reduce our ego. In this case, the ego of, paying attention to ourself from a negative perspective. So we don't normally think of that as ego, self-doubt, but it is. It's preoccupation with ourself when we're doubting ourself. Okay? So self-doubt leads to suspicion. And the way to overturn that is first to recognize it. So that capital M mindfulness, looking inside in the present moment. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And when we notice that we're doubting ourselves, we're feeling insecure, and we're leaning towards or in suspicion towards others, then we practice thinking about others, recognizing there are other people in the room, so to speak, not literally maybe, but there are other people here on the earth, other animals, and they're suffering also. And to think about their suffering and to develop concern for their welfare. So that's a way to turn around or to transform doubting ourself and suspicion into its healthy self-opposite, which is compassion or caring for the welfare of others. Resilience, it can be taught. It's something that can be taught by many of the things that we've been talking about so far, particularly compassion and mindfulness. This man learned to paint using the paintbrush in his hand, and I'm told that the calligraphy is quite beautiful. Chinese and or Japanese characters, Japanese, Chinese, from the Chinese characters. I don't know if this is a Japanese person or a Chinese person, doesn't matter, but this is incredible resilience that can be taught. So this gentleman learned to paint and do calligraphy with the paintbrush in his mouth because he doesn't have arms or hands. Okay, I think it's time to take a break. Let's take our second break. And let's come back in 10 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm looking at my watch, you look at yours, and I'll see you in 10 minutes.